Today I want to talk about Baal and the Baal Cycle. Who is Baal? What is Baal? What is Baalism? What is the Baal Cycle? Why should we care? Baalism is an ancient religion practiced by the ancient Canaanites and Egyptians way before the Old Testament and the Hebrew Bible was even thought of. So why should we care about Baalism, this old religion? Well, because it is a precursor to, well, certainly most modern classical Western religions, also more than likely a great influence on the Celtic religion. Starting off, we have a god called El. So El creates subordinate gods, YAM to control the seas, MOT is the god of the underworld and the god of death, Baal was the god of the skies, and ANAT was Baal's sister. YAM, who is the god of the sea, threatens El and says, I want to be the Lord of the gods. I want to be king of the gods, and I want Baal to be subordinate to me. El agrees to the request. Unfortunately, Baal has other ideas. Baal does not want to be subordinate to YAM, the god of the seas, and so he gets into a battle with YAM, conquers YAM, and now considers himself to be Lord of the gods, and then tries to subjugate MOT. MOT, being god of death and god of the underworld, well, he's not having any of it, so he ends up killing Baal and taking him to the underworld. ANAT goes to find Baal. She goes down to the underworld to find Baal. And what she finds MOT, and she finds that MOT has killed Baal. So in her anger, she kills MOT. Not only does she kill MOT, but she grinds him up and sprinkles his pieces through the land. Now, that has the effect of bringing back to life Baal. So Baal rises again from the underworld to take his position back as Lord of the gods. But MOT, who was nastily killed by ANAT, somehow, well, he is god of the underworld, remember, somehow manages to recover, and he now comes back to Baal and challenges Baal. But Baal says, no, you must be subordinate to me. Ultimately, MOT agrees, and Baal is now officially Lord of Lords, basically. Lord of Lords, Lord of the gods, King of the gods. Okay, so what does all this mean? A nice little story about, this guy Baal fights with YAM, kills YAM, tries to tell MOT what to do. MOT's not having none of it, knocks him on the head. His sister comes, digs him up, gets him out. nice story, but what's it all mean? Okay, well, from the notes I've compiled, I'm going to just break this down into summary, okay, as to what this means. So, YAM is the sea, and he is also the Lord of Chaos and Lord of Winter Storms. So, YAM threatens El, you know, with the winter weather. So the sea is threatening the land. Okay? Now, Baal is the storm god. So El calls on Baal, who's the storm god and also the god of vegetation. And Baal, in turn, sends calming weather to temper YAM's chaos. Right. So that's the story with YAM. It's basically about the sea encroaching on the land and the winter storms and the chaos and the tempest. And Baal is the god looking after the land, and El calls upon him to subdue YAM and control YAM. And so that's what this Baal-YAM conflict is about. So then he wants to subdue Mot, who's the god of death. Now, Mot represents the desert. So we're dealing with that area here in the Middle East. We could think about Egypt, you know, around the Nile Delta. It's quite lush, so I've been told. I don't know, I've never been there, but I imagine they get by apparently. But during the summer, we have the desert encroaching. And, you know, people starve and there are famines. And Mot is representing that as the god of death. He's encroaching now on civilization. And the towns and the cities and the villages, and causing death. So that's who Mot is. And then it says that Baal attempts to subdue Mot. And he loses in the first instance. You know, you can imagine we've got the Nile Delta, and there's been a very dry summer, and then some rains come, and there's some relief from the, you know, the harshness of the dry climate. Anyway, Baal fails basically in the middle of summer. He tries to subdue Mot, but it's the middle of summer and desert area. The desert keeps encroaching, and so it's said that Mot kills Baal and takes him to the underworld. So, and then we move on to Anat, Baal's sister, who comes down to the underworld to find Baal. And she finds that Mot has killed Baal. And so she goes after Mot. She not only kills him, but she takes the pieces of his body, grinds them up and sprinkles them across the land like grain. So this in turn then allows Baal to be reincarnated, reborn through the earth, and Mot also recovers. But then MOT is subjugated. Sorry, but couldn't get that word out then. MOT is subjugated by Baal through the autumn rains. And so we have here a classic tale of death and rebirth. Okay, it's the Osiris-Isis horror story. So we see the same thing, with the pagan wheel of the year. At Yule, the god dies and then is reborn, and then come 1st of May on Beltane, he's rising to the peak of his power and takes as his bride the May Queen. So we got that birth, death cycle going back right through prior to the First Testament. And that is something else I want to address. And I probably should have mentioned it sooner. I did allude to it right at the beginning, but you see, El, the one and the all. Have you heard that name somewhere before? Elohim? Yeah, Elohim. Elohim is the God in the Bible. It's one of the names given to the God in the Bible. The Old Testament is a compilation, if you like, of scripts coming from different ages even. So not just different people, but different ages. I think we go back to about 900 BC, and we have the J text. That was the Bible, or the scripts in the Bible that named God as Jehovah. And then we have the E text, which came, I think, a little later. Those are the scripts that relate to Elohim. There's also the P text, which is the priestly caste. And there's a couple of others. It does get a little bit confusing how it all gets compiled in, but at the end of it, we end up with, some priestly caste at the time. Hebrew priests decided what scripts were important and should be compiled together to form the Old Testament. Now, the whole Judaic religion, had its roots back in Baalism with El. So they were worshipping El. And you see in the Bible it's mentioned a lot. If the Lord is your God, then do this, or if Baal is your God, then do that. I can't remember the exact words, but there are multiple areas where Baal is mentioned. And basically, it was a religion evolving away from Baalism. Baalism had become quite nasty. It probably had always been nasty, with child sacrifice, a lot of immoral behaviour. Now, as a people, the Hebrews were evolving. The leaders of the society did not want this kind of behaviour going on anymore. So they evolved El. They made him El of the Hebrews, Yahweh. And the sacrifices, all the immoral behaviour had to go. So that was the roots of Judaism. It was an evolution. They turned away from all the sacrificial and the immoralistic behaviour, and they had this new religion, Judaism. What's that got to do with the Celts? Well, we can see that it's a very old and ancient religion. And of course, not everybody went the way of the Hebrews and started worshipping Yahweh. If we look back into the Celtic world, and particularly I want to talk about Austria, where we first see, or the first known historical evidence has turned up in regards to Bel or Belenus. A lot of people believe that Phoenician traders came to Gaul. They were interacting within the Celtic kingdoms, they were trading with the Celts, and they brought, of course, there's going to be some influence of their religion being brought along with them. And this is an evolution of Baal. And yeah, I did say that, right? It's actually pronounced Baal. It's just difficult to do a video saying Baal every 5 seconds. They obviously brought the influences of their religion into what is now Austria, but it was Noricum. They brought that religion into the Celtic world, or the influences of that religion into the Celtic world, and obviously the Celts adapted that to fit in better with their own environments. Now, you might be asking, okay, so who's this Bel character? You may not have heard of Bel. Well, prior to the Romans and through the reign of the Roman Empire, perhaps was where the cult of Bel was at its peak within the Celtic world. And we see evidence of Bel right throughout what was Celtic Europe, through to northern Italy, Iberia, and into Britain. We see Bel represented on Hadrian's Wall as, let's see if I can get this one right, Actus. If I had it in front of me, I could tell you. He was the horned god. And the whole Baal Cycle really gives us this idea of the wheel of the year and the seasons and the story of death and rebirth and how it relates to the various seasons. Yeah, it's not the encroaching desert so much, or the seas causing a tempest and drowning the crops or whatever. We have it related to our own seasons and cycles.